Before the oceans had names, before maps divided the seas, ancient people looked into the darkness of the deep and imagined something waiting beneath the waters. A creature so enormous, so powerful, that it became a symbol of chaos itself. Its name was Leviathan. But where did this mysterious being come from? Was Leviathan originally a literal monster, a symbol of evil, a memory of ancient sea mythology, or something far older? To understand Leviathan, we must travel back more than 2,000 years to the ancient Near East. The story of Leviathan did not appear in isolation. Ancient Canaanite texts discovered at Ugarit in modern-day Syria contain stories about a terrifying sea serpent called Lotan. The Ugaritic texts date primarily to the 2nd millennium BCE. Lotan is described as a powerful serpentine creature associated with the sea and chaos. In the Ugaritic tradition, the storm god Baal battles forces representing the untamed sea. This is one of the most important pieces of evidence for understanding the later Leviathan tradition. The names are different, the cultures are different, but the imagery is remarkably similar. A divine power confronts a monstrous force of the sea. Centuries later, the Hebrew Bible uses the name Leviathan. One of the most famous descriptions appears in the book of Job, chapter 41. Leviathan is portrayed as extraordinarily powerful. Its body is covered in protective scales. Its movements terrify those who encounter it, and human beings cannot easily control it. The text does something remarkable. It asks humanity, if you cannot control this creature, how could you possibly claim control over creation itself? Leviathan becomes more than an animal. It becomes a reminder of the enormous forces beyond human power. Another important passage appears in Psalm 74. There, Leviathan is described in connection with the defeat of the forces of the sea. The imagery resembles an ancient cosmic battle. Order confronts chaos. The power of the Creator stands above the forces that appear uncontrollable. This theme was familiar throughout the ancient Near East. The sea represented something humanity could not easily master. Storms destroyed ships. Floods destroyed cities. The darkness beneath the water was invisible. To ancient people, the ocean was not simply beautiful, it was dangerous, unpredictable, and mysterious. In the ancient imagination, creation often involved the establishment of order over chaos. The Hebrew creation narrative in Genesis does not actually name Leviathan, but another biblical passage, Psalm 104, mentions Leviathan within God's creation of the sea. And this creates an important distinction. Leviathan is not always portrayed simply as an enemy. In Psalm 104, the creature exists within creation itself. The message is profound. Even the most terrifying creature of the deep remains beneath divine authority. The sea has its boundaries, the monster has its place, and creation remains greater than the creature. Then comes one of the most mysterious references. In Isaiah 27, Leviathan is called a fleeing serpent, a twisting serpent, and a sea monster. The passage describes the Lord defeating Leviathan. Here the creature becomes a powerful symbol of forces opposed to divine order. This is where the spiritual meaning becomes especially important. Leviathan represents something humanity cannot defeat through ordinary strength. The message is not, become stronger than the monster. The message is, recognize that some powers are greater than human control. Was Leviathan based on a real animal? Scholars have proposed several possibilities. Some descriptions may contain imagery inspired by large crocodiles. Others have suggested whales or other enormous marine animals. But the biblical descriptions are not simply zoological reports. They use poetic and mythological imagery. Leviathan belongs to a symbolic world where nature itself can represent enormous spiritual forces. So the historical evidence does not prove that an enormous supernatural serpent literally lived beneath the ancient seas. What it does prove is that ancient peoples preserved powerful traditions about a monstrous force associated with the deep. As centuries passed, Leviathan continued to evolve. Jewish rabbinic traditions expanded the imagery. Medieval Christian writers incorporated Leviathan into discussions of demons and evil. Artists transformed the creature into enormous dragons and sea monsters. Eventually, Leviathan became one of the most recognizable monsters in Western imagination. But the ancient texts are more complicated than the later legends. The earliest traditions were concerned with something deeper, chaos, creation, divine authority, and the limits of human power. Perhaps this is why Leviathan survived for so long, because every generation understands the feeling of facing something larger than itself. Fear, chaos, the unknown. For ancient humanity, the sea provided the perfect image. It was vast, it was powerful, and beneath its surface was a world humans could not see. Leviathan became the face of that mystery, not necessarily a creature waiting to destroy humanity, but a symbol of the forces humanity could never completely control. Thousands of years ago, ancient people looked into the sea and saw the unknown. They gave that unknown a name, Leviathan, a serpent, a sea monster, a symbol of chaos, a creature beneath the waters. But perhaps its greatest meaning was never about the monster itself. Perhaps Leviathan represented the eternal question humanity has always faced. What exists beyond our understanding? The ancient answer was not always fear. Sometimes it was humility, because the deeper humanity looked into the mysteries of creation, the more it realized how little it truly understood. And somewhere beneath the ancient waves, the legend of Leviathan continued. Not as proof of a forgotten monster, but as one of humanity's oldest symbol, the sea became its kingdom. Chaos became its name, and history never forgot the beast beneath the waves.